The North Sea is an aggressive force of nature, characterized by biting winds, treacherous currents, and violent storms. Today, humans engage with this environment primarily through heavy industry. It is one of the world's busiest shipping lanes, punctuated by massive steel extraction rigs that pull oil and gas from deep beneath the seabed. But those rigs sit atop a geographical secret. Looking at a map of modern Western Europe, the ocean completely separates Great Britain from the continent. Mainstream archaeology long viewed this gap as a temporary land bridge that existed during the last ice age. The assumption was that this exposed seabed, a region we now call Doggerland, was a barren, frozen tundra, sparsely populated by small bands of primitive nomads carrying flint tools. New sonar data and genetic sampling are providing a high-resolution view of the seabed, revealing an environment that differs significantly from the bleak, frozen wasteland of previous models. In early 2026, researchers at the University of Warwick published a study analyzing sedimentary ancient DNA extracted from marine core samples in the North Sea. They targeted a massive, submerged prehistoric estuary known as the Southern River. The genetic material recovered from those cores showed that 16,000 years ago, Doggerland was already covered in thriving, temperate forests of oak, elm, and hazel. It was a warm, lush ecological sanctuary supporting wild boar, brown bears, and massive extinct aurochs. We know human communities thrived here alongside that megafauna. When commercial fishing boats drag their nets across the shallow Dogger Bank, they routinely pull up the physical remnants of these people, including decorated human skulls and intricately carved barbed bone harpoons. The presence of these tools within a resource-dense sanctuary suggests the inhabitants weren't merely surviving. They occupied a stable environment for millennia, one capable of supporting far more than simple nomadic subsistence. Agriculture, early architecture, and complex social structures incubated in the temperate, fertile crescent of the Middle East. The sediment cores confirm Doggerland possessed a similar abundance of resources, making it a viable candidate for the development of complex human societies. The end of that sanctuary began roughly 10,000 years ago. Rising global temperatures melted the polar ice caps, and the Atlantic Ocean crept inward, slowly turning the sweeping plains of Doggerland into a shrinking network of isolated islands and saltwater marshes. This schematic shows the event that delivered the fatal blow. Around 8,200 years ago, a massive section of the continental shelf off the coast of modern-day Norway collapsed. This underwater landslide, known as the Storegga slide, displaced over 3,000 cubic kilometers of sediment. That displacement generated a tsunami with waves up to 20 meters high. Traveling at the speed of a jet airliner, that wall of water roared directly into the flat, heavily populated landscape of the Doggerland Basin. The impact obliterated coastal settlements, destroyed the forests, and poisoned all remaining freshwater sources with salt. The inhabitants who survived the initial strike were forced to abandon the broken landscape, fleeing eastward into Europe and westward into the highlands of Great Britain. The sudden total loss of a vast populated homeland offers a concrete historical basis for the flood legends that would eventually define the oral histories of the region. The survivors who fled the rising tides carried their knowledge with them as they integrated into the elevated coastal regions of Brittany, the Orkney Islands, and Salisbury Plain. Shortly after Doggerland completely vanished around 4000 BC, these specific geographic areas experienced an explosion of monumental stone construction. Structures like Stonehenge required advanced engineering, complex mathematical calculations, and precise astronomical alignments. Alternative historians, such as Graham Phillips, argue this architectural leap was too rapid to be the work of local hunter-gatherers transitioning to farming. He proposes a hypothesis centered on a region he calls Fairland, an advanced sunken province of Doggerland whose elite builders escaped the flood. Phillips points to sites in the remote Orkney Islands where refugees allegedly first settled. Temple complexes here, like the Ness of Brodgar, predated Stonehenge and demonstrated an immediate, highly developed mastery of geometry and stoneworking upon their construction. If this migration theory holds true, the towering stone circles of Western Europe are not the early experiments of a new culture. They are desperate memorials, built by survivors trying to preserve the mathematical traditions and sacred geometry of a drowned world. The concept of a lost, drowned civilization traces directly back to the Greek philosopher Plato. In 360 BC, he described an advanced maritime empire destroyed by the ocean in a single day and night of misfortune, a legend that continues to drive theories linking Doggerland to the true location of Atlantis. In 2025, researcher Robert John Langdon argued that Plato's geographical descriptions align with the North Sea. Stripping away the Greek mythological embellishments, Atlantis was described as a vast plain surrounded by mountains, opening to the ocean, a precise topographical match for the Doggerland Basin bounded by Scotland and Norway. This timeline compares the textual and geological records. Plato stated Atlantis sank roughly 9400 BC. Modern sediment data shows the rapid sea level rise submerging Doggerland occurred exactly 10,000 years ago. The timing aligns tightly. Plato also described the Atlantean capital as being built on a hill surrounded by concentric rings of water and land. Proponents of the theory argue the massive, circular layouts of British megaliths, like Avebury, are architectural echoes of that exact layout, built to honor the lost city. Mainstream academics universally reject this connection. Plato's text explicitly mentions heavy bronze weaponry, massive fleets of triremes, and towering temples of gold, technologies that did not exist during the Mesolithic era. Because no metal harbors or stone ruins have ever been retrieved from the North Sea, the archaeological consensus maintains Doggerland was strictly a culture of wood, bone, and flint. The counter-argument to that academic wall is rooted in material decay. A society building with organic materials like heavy timber and earth 10,000 years ago would leave behind structures that rot away, or remain buried beneath 50 meters of shifting salt and glacial silt. This gap in the physical record has bred speculation regarding the data gathered by the private sector. Whistleblowers within the marine survey industry claim that commercial 3D seismic imaging and sonar scans have occasionally detected anomalies that defy natural explanation, perfect right angles and geometric shapes buried in the mud. According to fringe researchers, these anomalous files are quickly classified and suppressed by a coalition of governments and energy corporations. The alleged motive is to protect the established historical narrative, avoiding the massive disruption that would come from rewriting the origins of human civilization. While these claims lack verifiable physical proof, they survive because the North Sea itself fiercely protects its deepest secrets. The water is dark, muddy, and intensely hostile to exploration. Underwater excavation is incredibly expensive and dangerous, leaving the vast majority of Doggerland completely untouched by modern science. Until the deep valleys of the seabed can be fully excavated, the true scope of what sank there remains speculative. Doggerland sits precisely on the boundary where geological fact blurs into human myth, a silent reminder of how quickly an entire world can be swallowed by the tide.